Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and we are back for another Monday morning edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration. So, I like to dive right in. So, the first thing I want to talk to you all about is the Department of Labor. Every July, Department of Labor publishes, after a thorough review of all professions, and they publish new prevailing wage levels. So last month was no different. So we now have a new comprehensive prevailing wage data from them. And I say it's comprehensive because it looks at not just the position itself, not just the job, it looks at the job duties, the seniority within the position up to 4 levels, and it looks at the location of the role. So it will drill down not just to the state, it will also drill down to the county. So we do have new prevailing wage information out there. What I have heard from some of my clients is that, and I've heard this over the years, is that the prevailing wage data released by the Department of Labor doesn't really accurately reflect either their particular industry, the particular role, or within the particular geographic area. So all is not lost if you think that your role, your area, what have you, doesn't really fit within what the Department of Labor is doing. Oftentimes people tell me they think the Department of Labor has skewed higher than what the actual market is bearing at the time. So all is not lost. You can use a private survey. So we can submit private surveys to the Department of Labor and USCIS. However, those private surveys must meet pretty strict Department of Labor rules. So it can't just be any private survey. All private surveys are not created equally, and thus they are not all accepted by Department of Labor. But if you do believe that the Department of Labor wages that we receive are not really reflective of the position that you have, and you have either a private survey that you usually use when you all are calculating wage ranges within your company, or you would like to look for a private survey that maybe does sort of a more niched down job of looking at the surveys for either your particular state, your particular county, or for a particular role, then that is something that can certainly be explored. But understand that not all wage surveys will meet the Department of Labor criteria, but it's always worth a look. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Filing fees, y'all. So we've been under the mandatory credit card or ACH filing fees now for a while. No more checks, right? No more checks. Everything is either credit card or ACH. So just three really quick reminders. One, when you're paying via credit card or ACH, it is crucial that you have fraud alerts set up with your bank. USCIS will not run a credit card twice. If the credit card does not go through for whatever reason, they will reject the petition and send it back to you. So it's crucial that you have these fraud alerts set up. It's just crucial. So whoever in your organization has control of the credit card should be receiving those fraud alerts. Second, make sure that the person who is receiving potential fraud alerts knows what the filing fees are. So if the person that has the fraud alerts set up is a different person than the person who actually knows what the filing fees are, not helpful. Like, just honestly, that's not helpful. So the person that is potentially receiving the fraud alerts needs to know what the filing fee amounts are so that they can quickly tell the bank, yes, that is a valid charge, please put it through. Because again, USCIS is only going to run a card with you one time. So it is honestly, if you get a fraud alert on a Friday evening or a Saturday morning, it is too late to wait until Monday morning to call and ask your attorney, oh, by the way, what are the filing fees? We got a fraud alert from the bank. USCIS has already moved on. And the rejection of the application can be a pretty significant timing issue, because it can take a month, sometimes more, to get that rejected application back. When an application is rejected, it is as if it was never filed. So it's very difficult to get USCIS to retain that initial filing date. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Filing fees, credit cards, ACH, please make sure that you have your fraud alerts set up, that the person that is receiving the fraud alerts also knows the amount of the filing fees. And understand sometimes your bank can reject a charge because it is outside of the normal pattern of charging for that particular card or for that particular user. So the bank's trying to do its job, USCIS is trying to do its job. So let's all kind of help one another get those filing fees submitted to USCIS, accepted by USCIS, and move it on. So the next thing I want to talk to you about are I talked a little bit previously about a pilot program with the Department of State, who runs all of the consulates and embassies outside of the US. They are starting a pilot program for an expedite fee to get an interview, not to process the visa application, but just to get an interview. So it sort of jumps you in line to actually just get your interview. And for some countries, if this pilot program works, that will be pretty significant, given some pretty lengthy wait times. So what we know now is they announced this program last month. And so they are working on it now, and they are going to start with Mission Mexico. So it'll be starting with Mexico, with all the consulates in Mexico. And so it's an additional $750 fee in addition to the regular fee that you pay when you're filling out your DS-160. So it is an extra $750 to get access to an appointment. Once you have the appointment, it does not speed up the processing of the application. So if there is an issue with your application or something like that, it does not speed up the processing of your application. It only speeds up the ability to schedule the appointment. That is super, super clear that we all understand that. And the last thing I want to talk to you all about, again, is also with the consulates. Every U.S. consulate out there that processes applications, specifically non-immigrant applications on that DS-160, but really all applications, all consulates do not use the same software. I understand that they are all run and organized and sort of managed through Department of State, but they are not all running the same software. They're not all running the same DS-160 software. They're not all running the same software. They don't all have the exact same processes. So with respect to scheduling a visa appointment, please, please, please do not go on autopilot. And by that I mean, if you have scheduled an appointment, if you've scheduled 8 appointments in the past and everything was smooth sailing and you say, oh, I got this, I know exactly what I'm doing, stop and make sure that you read all of the words on the screen, all of the instructions. Software changes. It may not, it may change from one region to the next. They may do a test of one software in one consulate or one region. And they're not necessarily going to tell us that that's what they're doing, or they may just simply switch software, tell us they've switched software, and now we're dealing with new software, new messages, new prompts, new everything. So it is imperative that when you are scheduling a visa appointment, when you're uploading things, when you're working your way through that system, it is imperative that you are reading all of the instructions, all of the prompts. Because they just don't run on the same systems. Some regions work on the same system, but it's sometimes it seems a little random. I know it's not. I know there's an internal reason for everything, But from the outside looking in, sometimes it seems a little random, and that's okay. But it's super important that you are looking at all of the instructions on screen, because sometimes things are changed and you just don't know about it. So that is my sort of helpful tip, to make sure that you're reading all those instructions on screen. But that is all I have for y'all this Monday morning. So have a great Monday and a great rest of your week. And let us know if you have any questions. Bye.